the various back-end work that will go on in terms of compiling the results and the voting procedure. So thank you to them as well. And may I now please begin with the session? All right, I'm taking that as an affirmative. So we will now call the House to order. The House will now come to order and we will begin the session with the roll call. Delegates are reminded to raise their placards up high when their country's name is called and respond with present and voting. Delegates from Commonwealth of Australia.
Present and voting.
Delegates from French Republic.
Present and voting.
Delegates from Kingdom of Cambodia.
Present and voting.
Delegates from People's Republic of China.
Present and voting.
Delegates from Republic of Korea.
Present and voting.
Delegates from the United States of America.
Present and voting.
Delegates from Union of Soviet Socialist Republics.
Present and voting.
Thank you, delegates. I will now call out the speakers list. Rutvi Bisht, Tishika Karakoti, Rutvi Bisht, PRC, Tishika Karakoti, USSR, Madhurika Bisht, Cambodia, Arav Tikku, France, Pranav Sharma, Australia, Devra Sharma, USA, Hansika Kohli, South Korea, followed by Paradhi Srivastav from PRC, Anshika Bisht, USSR, Arth Agrawal, Cambodia, Suhan Kapoor, France, Manya Rithal, Australia, Abhi Kekre, USA, and Rudrakshi Pandey, South Korea. Thank you, delegates. Thank you, everyone. We will now proceed with opening speeches. It is an opportunity to explain your country policy, introduce key sub-issues you want the committee to focus on, and determine countries you want to work with. Delegates will be called individually and will have a speaking time of 2 minutes each. The chair reminds the delegate to refrain from using personal pronouns. Delegates from People's Republic of China, you have been recognized. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Ni hao, Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates. People's Republic of China is grateful to be a part of this session and the chance to find suitable solutions to end the war in Vietnam peacefully. The Vietnam conflict is a major event that has the potential to shape the course of the world in the 20th century. Although it is a regional conflict in the Indo-Chinese peninsula, a full-fledged war can also affect the strategic interests of the People's Republic of China, the United States, and the Soviet Union, as well as the relations between these great powers. Allow me to remind you that the Chinese government, under the administration of Mao Zedong, took an active role in the First Indochina War. In April 1950, the Viet Minh formally requested military aid, including equipment, advisors, and training. The PRC began to send their advisors and later from the Chinese Military Advisory Group to assist the Viet Minh, led by General Wei Guoqing along with Senior General Cheng Gong. This was the beginning of China's assistance. People's Republic of China strongly abides by the principles of communism. We have taken a stand to support North Vietnam in support of communism and maintaining its position against its competitors. As per our foreign policy, lean to one side, we have been supporting USSR to counter US threats. We have made it very clear that if US ground troops invade North Vietnam, then we will respond as well. As we all know, the division of Vietnam into North and South has increased conflicts. Delegates from People's Republic of China do not want division of countries into smaller countries. China wants to reduce tensions in parts of Asia. This could be done by having cooperation among each other, which would help all of us in bringing regional stability. We want the UN to initiate more regional forums so that there are more discussions which will help in building cooperation. It is also important to improve relations between superpowers. Besides this, counterbalancing these powers is also necessary. We believe that economic and diplomatic cooperation will help in resolving this conflict peacefully. Thank you. I yield the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, you have been recognized. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the recognition of the delegation of USSR.
The delegation of USSR is grateful for being here. Izdraste Voite. The death of one man is a tragedy, but the death of millions is a statistic. Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, USSR is deeply concerned about the situation in Vietnam. As you are aware, in 1941, the Vietnam emerged under the Vietnamese revolutionary leader Ho Chi Minh. The Vietnam sought independence of Vietnam from France and at the end of Japanese occupation. After the military defeat of Japan and the fall of its puppet empire of Vietnam in August 1945, Saigon's administrative services collapsed and chaos overruled. The Vietnam proclaimed a provisional government which asserted national independence on 2nd of September. The resulting First Indochina War lasted until July 1954. The defeat of French colonialists in 1954 Battle of Dien Bien Phu allowed Ho Chi Minh to negotiate at the subsequent Geneva Conference. Coming to Geneva Conference, the demarcation along the 17th parallel initially was to abolish any conflicts between French colonial and Vietnam military troops. But however, it still presents itself as a separation between Vietnam as whole. Subjecting to the crisis at hand, USSR supports the formation of a socialist communist government in Vietnam. However, USSR wishes to refrain movement would be a step to ending the differences in the area. USSR aims to provide peace in Vietnamese states because peace is not unity in similarity. However, it is unity in comparison and conciliation of differences. Spasibo. Thank you. I would now like to yield the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Kingdom of Cambodia, you've been recognized. You now have the floor.
Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates, delegates from Kingdom of Cambodia is honored to be here. Suastai, the conflict in Vietnam has pitted the communist government of North Vietnam against South Vietnam and its principal ally, the United States. The conflict is intensified by the ongoing Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. The conflict has emerged from the First Indochina War between the French colonial government and a left-wing revolutionary movement, the Viet Minh. In July 1955, under the provision of the Geneva Agreements, the two zones of Vietnam were to begin consultation on the election scheduled for the next year. But Premier Diem refused to talk with the communists, and in July 1956, he refused to hold election for reunification. We strongly believe that election failed to take place because Premier Diem was aware that Ho Chi Minh was not prepared to accept anything resembling the concept of the free election involving international observers or monitors, as accepted by the Geneva Agreements. Diem knew that the communist controlled North would not allow generally free election, and communist Ho Chi Minh would almost certainly have won as a result. Cambodia recommends that we should hold free and fair election, again because this is the only way to unify both the countries, North Vietnam and South Vietnam. The election should be held within a year and should be conducted by the United Nations to ensure that they remain fair and the communists are unable to influence the result in their favor. The international community must step in now and take responsibility for the immediate future of Vietnam, as clearly the parties involved are not able to reach a peaceful decision among themselves. Cambodia also proposes that we should make a committee to monitor the situation while holding the elections. Cambodia is particularly troubled and deeply agonized by the conflict in Vietnam because of its geographical proximity to the area and urges the United Nations to resolve the issue peacefully, democratically, at an earliest list. It explodes into something so big and troublesome that the international community cannot contain it any longer. Thank you. I yield the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of French Republic, you've been recognized. You now have the floor.
Honorable Chair and esteemed delegates, The French delegation is honored to be part of this conference. France was one of the first Western countries to support Vietnam's reform policy and has been supporting its development and outreach. France gave Vietnamese people freedom from the feudal system of monarchy, who let their people die in calamities like floods, famines, locust infestations, droughts, among many others. France built a railway from Hanoi to Saigon, ports, irrigation, traded systems, research institutions, and other public facilities. This infrastructure is a legacy left behind by the French that the Vietnamese people continue to benefit from. France supported the poor peasants of Vietnam and taught them modern methods of agriculture. France helped Vietnam's civil administration to become more structured. France has always supported growth of Vietnamese people. On the Vietnam problem, France has adopted an attitude and a policy which more and more diverges from and is even opposed to those of the United States and her NATO allies. This has repercussions at the Atlantic level. France has again come to take an interest in Vietnam and why she is in disagreement with the US policy in the region and why she favors a solution of cooperation on the basis of neutrality of the Vietnamese states. Therefore, Vietnam should maintain the Holstein Doctrine in its original form, where it applies not to East European communist states but to the rest of the world. This is an important, though not an easy move. There will have to be discussions between America and her Western allies on the possible content of a peace treaty between the West and the East. France is ready to support Vietnam under the Asia Recovery Program, in which France aims to rehabilitate economy and create stable conditions in democratic institutions could survive, like the Marshall Plan introduced by the United States. The Marshall Plan was very successful. The Western European countries involved experienced a rise in gross national products of 15 to 25% during this period. France is also ready to support the Democratic Republic of Vietnam financially and urges other of its Western allies to support Vietnam under Ho Chi Minh as a leader of the democratic country. Laos and Cambodia want to remain neutral, but still, North Vietnam is pressuring the government to let it use the Ho Chi Minh Trail. France calls upon its SEATO allies to send its armed troops till the Vietnam problem is solved. France adopts a policy of deserting, in which all countries must leave Vietnam and not interfere with the internal politics of Vietnam. No country should offer their support without the request of Vietnam. France also offers its land to make a peace treaty between all countries involved in the Second Indochina War. Thank you. I yield the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of Commonwealth of Australia, you've been recognized. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Delegates from Australia are honored to be given a chance to present our stand on the ongoing issue in Vietnam and our views on reaching a peaceful solution to the conflict that looms large as a threat to the global community. Delegates from Australia would like to begin by throwing some light on the Vietnamese issue and draw your attention to what the global community understands as the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War, also known as the Second Indochina War, is a conflict in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia that has officially started from 1st November 1955. It is the second of the Indochina Wars and is officially being fought between North Vietnam and South Vietnam. North Vietnam is supported by the Soviet Union, China, and other communist allies. South Vietnam is supported by the United States, South Korea, the Philippines, Thailand, and other anti-communist allies like us. Australia believes that the two best chances at avoiding the Vietnam War came in 1945, and unfortunately, those two chances were lost. We are also troubled by the larger context of the Cold War that hangs over decisions made in Indochina. We believe that a peaceful resolution of the conflict is possible if all parties involved come together to discuss this issue. Australia's call for organizing another international conference where a plan can be evolved to discuss how awareness can be created and fair and democratic election can be conducted in Vietnam. Eventually, Australia proposes to set the time limit for 5 years, which essentially means that we should target 1961 as the year of election in Vietnam, supervised by the United Nations. Fellow delegates, at the end, we want to assert the Australia involvement in the Vietnam War is driven largely by the rise of communism in Southeast Asia after World War II and the fear of its spread, which has developed in Australia since the early 1950s. Thank you. I yield the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of the United States of America, you've been recognized. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, the United States of America is happy to be here today. We begin by stating that the involvement of the United States of America with Vietnam is because of a combination of factors. Joseph Stalin and Mao Zedong's pledge in 1950 to support Ho Chi Minh and the Viet Minh's guerrilla forces against France's imperial forces, the US war with Japan in the Pacific, and the domestic pressure to act against communism after the loss of mainland China, and also to an extent the unsatisfactory conclusion of the Korean War. The United States of America feel threatened that the communism would spread throughout Asia through Vietnam. The United States of America wants to introduce an international program to expand, equip, and train Vietnamese forces and to assign them an increased role in the country's affairs, at the same time reducing the number of external troops in the area. The United States of America proposes a treaty to revise the decision taken in the Geneva Conference in 1954 and the two Vietnams to be unified under a single state of Vietnam by conducting elections. We propose the year 1961 to be the year for this revised election.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate of the Republic of South Korea, you've been recognized. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Delegation of South Korea is honored to be here today. Delegates from South Korea feel deeply troubled by the Vietnam conflict and are also fearful of the communists gaining a stronghold in area. Here we would like to add that this is to do what happened to us. As the committee is aware, after the years of mutual hostilities, North Korea invaded South Korea in an attempt to reunify peninsula under its communist rule. The subsequent Korean War, which lasted from 1950 to 1953, ended with a stalemate and has left Korea divided by Korean Determined Zone (DMZ). The DMZ runs near 38 parallel, covering roughly 248 kilometers. American and South Korean soldiers patrol this line along the South Korean side, while North Korean soldiers patrol along the North Korean side. Since the Korean War, we Koreans consider war to be the greatest human evil. Not only did it cause destruction and 3 million deaths in our peninsula, it also confirmed the division of homogeneous societies after 13 centuries of unity. Therefore, we call upon this committee to seriously pave the way for a peaceful solution of Vietnam conflict, as the war will bring nothing but death and tragedy to the area. We have seen it firsthand, and we will support international community in preventing any further wars. We may also like to add that just like United States of America, we too are fearful of and object to the rise of communism in Asia. Therefore, we will only support a democratic solution to the conflict at the hand. Thank you. Over to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Moving forward, delegates of Historical Crisis Committee, we have 3 draft resolutions before us today. We will now proceed with reading the draft resolutions, followed by an open debate on the topic of finding a peaceful solution to the Vietnam conflict. The chair sets a reading time of 5 minutes for each resolution as a whole, 1 minute for draft resolution, 3 minutes for the debate, and 1 minute for the question-answer session. Please use this time wisely to begin forming points of information. Will the main submitter of resolution number 1 please take the floor to read the operative clauses?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, am I audible?
Yes, delegate, please go on.
Thank you, Chair. We now present resolution number 1, sponsored by the People's Republic of China and co-sponsored by Union of Soviet Socialist Republic on the topic finding peaceful solutions to end the Vietnam conflict peacefully. The United Nations Historical Crisis Committee, recognizing the Geneva Conference of 1954, which intended outcomes resulting from the Korean War and the First Indochina War. Noting with the past efforts of various relevant UN bodies and non-governmental organizations. Viewing with appreciation the Treaty of the Sino-Soviet Friendship of 1950, where Mao Zedong and Joseph Stalin safeguarded the national interest of China and USSR with alliance and mutual assistance. The treaty improved the two countries' geopolitical relationship on political, military, and economic levels, stressing the fact that the Vietnam nevertheless remains divided at the 17th parallel, calls upon recession by superpowers by avoiding military actions in order to end the clash and preventing Vietnam from turning into a mere war ground for communist and anti-communist states. Further recommends preventing vision to protect these states from clashing in the near future. Expresses its hope and that representation and respect will be accorded to the majority of Vietnamese population. Peace previously that the Geneva Conference of 1954 will continue further. Emphasizes the formation of a government established on communist or socialist ideals. People's Republic of China and Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, being communist, parades the beauty of communist ideologies. Encourages regional development, formulation of regional forums for more civilians of Vietnam, providing monetary support instead of military troops, and prioritizing the betterment of the Vietnamese state rather than fueling unnecessary ideological confrontation. And regrets the Cold War on the Vietnamese population. On proceed with my speech.
Delegate from People's Republic of China, you can go on with your speech now.
Ni hao, Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates. Delegates from Republic of China are grateful for the opportunity to be a part of this session. The chance to end the conflict in Vietnam peacefully. Do you think development can be achieved in a state of war and chaos? We don't think so. Unity is the key for development of any nation. Confucius once quoted, "If there be beauty in the character, there will be harmony in the home. If there be harmony in the home, there will be order in the nation. And if there be order in the nation, there will be peace in the entire world." The Vietnam conflict is a major event that can affect our strategic interests along with those of the United States, the Soviet Union, as well as these great powers. In July 1954, the Geneva Agreements were signed, as a part of which the French agreed to withdraw their troops from Vietnam. Vietnam would be divided at the 17th parallel, completing pending elections within the 2 years and reunite the country again. We support communism. The North Vietnam has been following communism, whereas South Vietnam is pro-Western. We have a stand to support North Vietnam. We stay at background, provide military aid, and help to rebuild areas destroyed by years of colonialization. To end the Vietnam War peacefully, we want to reduce tensions in the part of world. We want to reduce tensions in the part of world by economic and diplomatic cooperation. We want UN to initiate more reforms so that there are more conversations which will help in maintaining peace. It is also important to improve relations between the superpowers and counterbalancing these powers. Solving the bridge between North and South is also very important. Reuniting the two Vietnams could be an example to the world that two divided idealistic countries can live together and be a
Delegate from
peaceful
China,
society.
can I please interrupt you? Delegate from People's Republic of China, can I please
Yes,
interrupt
Chair?
you? Delegate, we are not able to hear you properly. I would request you to restart your speech and keep your video off. Okay, could you please restart your speech and keep the video off so that we can hear you properly?
Honorable Chair now.
Yes, Delegate, please go on. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Ni hao, Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates. The delegates from People's Republic of China are grateful for the opportunity to be a part of this session and the chance to find suitable solutions to conflict in Vietnam peacefully. Development can be achieved in a state of war and chaos? We don't think so. Unity is the key for development of a nation. Confucius once quoted, "If there be beauty in character, there will be harmony in the home. If there be harmony in the home, there will be order in the nation. And if there be order in the nation, there will be peace in the world." The Vietnam conflict is a major event that can affect our strategic interests along with those of United States, USSR, as well as the relation between these powers. July 19 agreements as a part of which French troops from at the with the president the country. We communism. Vietnam has been where a West North Vietnam. We stay at background, provide military aid, and help North Vietnam to rebuild areas destroyed by years of colonialization. To end the Vietnam War peacefully, we want to reduce tensions in part of the world by having economic and diplomatic cooperation. We want UN to initiate more regional forums so that there are more conversations which will help in maintaining peace. It is also important to improve relation between great powers and counterbalancing these powers. It is very important to solve the bridge between North and South. Reuniting the two Vietnams could be an example to the world that two divided idealistic countries can live together and be a peaceful society. Therefore, we look forward to discussing this issue with our fellow delegates. Thank you. I yield the floor to my fellow delegate.
Delegate from USSR.
Thank you, Chair. Straduvitye, Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates. Thank you for devoting your time to recognize USSR's views subjecting to the Vietnam crisis at hand. A war cannot be humanized. It can only be abolished. Our purpose in Vietnam is to prevent the success of aggression. It is not conquest, it is not empire, and neither a domination. We aim at proposing resolutions which help to simmer down the bubbling war between the Vietnamese state. Vietnam has fought a brutal battle against the French colonial rule. It faced division at the Geneva Conference under the Geneva Accords of 1954. Initially, the demarcation along the 17th parallel was to abolish any conflicts between the French and Vietnam military troops, but it still remains as a separation between Vietnam as a whole. Elections promised under the conference remain cancelled as a decision of Sir Diem currently holding power in South Vietnam through fraudulent elections, with 600,000 votes being casted, with only 450,000 being eligible in the city of Saigon. USSR is infamously known for its communist roots, with our biggest of leaders viewing the credence and glory of a communist state, and we further parade those beliefs in this conference as well. USSR believes that a socialist communist government elected through free and fair elections should be appointed. Fellow delegates, the major population of Vietnam believes in the glory of a socialist society promised by the Viet Cong under Sir Ho Chi Minh. We look ahead on forming a government ending the ideological differences between the people of both states. But this, honorable delegates, can be made possible when the United States of America and its other anti-communist allies refuse to fund any furthermore protests by the South Vietnamese. In clear hindsight, one can see the support given to the Viet Minh, now the Viet Cong, by the inhabitants of the land itself. Strikingly, the delegate of USSR finds it hard to believe that USA decided to provide major military support to the South Vietnam in order to overrule the communist majority in two states, inducing the state of war. We propose for free and fair elections as previously promised by the Geneva Peace Conference. We call for the formation of a socialist government in Vietnam which aims towards peace within the state and outside on global fronts. USSR backs up from providing any military alliance in Vietnam and withdraws all actions which can further ignite the fragile flame of war. Let's remember, fellow delegates, the conjecture we deduce today should keep the needs of global peace up front rather than enforcing a global dominion. Spasibo. I now yield the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Are the delegates from People's Republic of China open to any points of information?
Yes, Chair.
The delegates of People's Republic of China have opened themselves to all points of information. Due to time constraints and in the interest of debate, we will entertain maximum 3 points of information. Are there any such points of information in the House at this time?
Delegates from Australia rise to the point of information.
Delegates, you've been recognized.
The delegation of France wants to rise to a point of information. The delegation of France wants to understand how the world community can be sure of sending military to Vietnam such that China does not try to overpower the local government and do the exact same thing they did in Tibet and capture Vietnam. China, if you do occupy Vietnam, France and its allies will be in a state of war against China.
Delegates from China. Delegates from China, are you open to this point of information?
Will the delegate please rephrase his question in a more precise manner?
How can we be sure that we won't go into Vietnam and overpower the local government and do the exact same thing that you did in Tibet not many years ago?
Thank you for your question. See, like we did for Tibet, so we want to know that many years ago, Tibet was also a part. And according to our policy, we do not just like overrule or conquer any country. It's not even a policy. So we can assure that although we are supporting communists and we are supporting North Vietnam, but we will not conquer North Vietnam. Thank you so much.
Thank you, delegates. Are there any further points on the floor?
Delegates from Australia rise to the points of information.
Delegate from Australia, you've been recognized. Delegate from Kingdom of Cambodia, you've been recognized. You're next. Delegate from Australia, please go on.
Thank you, Chair. We would like to ask delegates from People Republic of China that isn't their interest in Vietnam primarily because of their desire to turn Vietnam into a communist country? Let me remind the members present here that the Chinese communists came to power in 1949 and Ho Chi Minh went to China asking for help with his war against the French. Isn't it true that President Mao was eager to oblige because he had the ambition of spreading his communist ideology to neighboring countries in Asia? Isn't that what China wants in Vietnam too?
Delegate from China.
Thank you, Delegate. And I'm very sorry due to network issues, we are not able to hear. So, will the delegate please rephrase his question?
My question was that China that isn't their interest in Vietnam primarily because of their desire to turn Vietnam into a communist country. As Ho Chi Minh went to China asking for help with his war against the French in during the 1949. Isn't it true that President Mao was eager to oblige because he had the ambition of spreading his communist ideology to neighboring countries in Asia? Isn't that what China wants in Vietnam too?
Delegate from China.
Thank you for the question. We would just like to say that yeah, in some way we can say that we wanted to maintain our position against the other competitors. That's why we went over Vietnam, and to spread communism was also one of the motto. And but in North Vietnam, we always stayed at background, and we provided military aid, and we helped to rebuild the areas which were destroyed by so many years of colonialization. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate from Kingdom of Cambodia.
Delegates from China stated that they will support Vietnam economically, but the international community is aware China is itself in the process of rebuilding its economy as of now. How will China then support Vietnam economically?
Thank you for the question, delegates. We would like to say that we have, as a supporter, USSR also, which is helping us economically, and we are sure that Russia will surely help us on the base of the Sino-Soviet friendship treaty, and we both also parade the beauty of communist ideology. So yeah, USSR will surely help us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Delegate. The question answer session, the time for the session is now elapsed. We will move on with resolution number 2. Will the main submitter of resolution number 2 please take the floor to read the operative clauses?
Thursday, Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates. Delegates from Kingdom of
I'm
Cambodia
sorry.
are
I
honored
am
to be here.
sorry. I am sorry, Kingdom of Cambodia. I'm very sorry to interrupt you here. USSR, I am very sorry. I want to ask the delegates from USSR that are you open to any points of information?
Yes, Chair.
Are there any points of information in the House?
The delegation
Kingdom
of
of Cambodia?
France, the delegation of France rises to a point of information.
All right, a delegation from Kingdom of Cambodia and delegation from French Republic have been recognized. Please go ahead. Delegation from Cambodia.
Thank you.
USSR endorses communism. What will happen if the majority of the population of Vietnam decides to denounce communism and peacefully elects a non-communist leader? Is USSR open to such possible state of affairs as it will go against its communist ideology?
Thank you, Delegate, for your question. As of now, we are all aware that Sir Diem cancelled elections for Vietnam as a whole because he was afraid that communism would take over as Sir Ho Chi Minh was in clear majority. But if Vietnam, we refuse to enter within the conflict of Vietnam and we let the state decide who they support. But as the country of USSR, we parade our communist beliefs. And we will continually support them if they follow communism further. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. French Republic.
Thank you, Chair. Delegates of France want to understand how the world community can be sure if the communists win in Vietnam and USSR will not overpower the local population like you did in the Balkan states during the March deportation, in which more than 90,000 Estonians, Latvians, Lithuanians, labeled as enemies of the people, were deported to forced settlements or gulags in inhospitable areas of the Soviet Union, which violated many human rights just to get the local resources of the Balkan states.
Thank you, Delegate, for your question. As of now, what we want to say is that the major reason why US and other anti-communist states and all those allies had South Vietnam back out of the Geneva elections was because of the popularity of Ho Chi Minh. And that's why it was assured for the communist ideology to win the elections in the Geneva Accords. But because of all these faulty elections made to provide power to Sadiem, it was an avid example of tweaks played by US to help disapprove the false negotiations. What we want to say as of now is that that fraudulent elections were conducted in South Vietnam internally, in which 600,000 votes were casted when only 450,000 votes were eligible. And don't you think that this is suspicious? And that's why we want to say that we are quite confident forming a glorious socialist government which further helps reducing the differences of people of both states as of now. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. The time for question answer has now elapsed. And will the main submitter of resolution number 2 please take the floor to read the operative clauses?
Thursday, Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates. Delegates from Kingdom of Cambodia are honored to be here. Reminding all the countries present today about the pressing need to resolve the Vietnam conflict peacefully. Alarmed by the fact that elections for reunification of Vietnam were cancelled in 1956, asserting that free and fair elections are the only way to unify Vietnam, recalling the rights of Vietnamese people to freely choose and develop their own political, social, economic, and cultural system without the interference of other states. Kingdom of Cambodia hereby recognizes the imperative need to conduct elections in Vietnam at an earliest, expresses the hope that the interests and wishes of native population of Vietnam will be eventually respected, requests the formation of a separate committee to monitor the situation in Vietnam and ensure free elections at an earliest, urges the nations present today to work towards the political freedom and fair processes leading up to a genuine election and acceptance of election results by all the parties. Honorable Chair, may I continue with my speech?
Yes, Delegate, you've been recognized.
Just imagine the delegates of various nations present today make one wrong decision and millions of lives are lost yet again, how it did a decade ago. It is important to pay attention to the political instability of the world right now. Therefore, delegation of Kingdom of Cambodia believes it is imperative to resolve the Vietnam conflict peacefully and refrain from the use of armed forces because the situation can escalate quickly and what happened in Japan can happen once again. After the signing of Geneva Accords, democracy was adopted in Vietnam, but the fact that 1956 elections were cancelled calls for an urgent measure. As of now, almost 40 countries in the world have adopted proper democracy, and it is the last resort to regain political stability in Vietnam. The delegation of Kingdom of Cambodia requests the United Nations and the fellow nations present today to step up and make these elections possible. For the reunification of northern and southern Vietnam, We propose setting up an individual committee that overlooks the elections to keep the fairness in check. In the end, this will be an important stepping stone for the strong foundation of a peaceful world. Thank you. I yield the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Are the delegates from Kingdom of Cambodia open to any points of information?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
The delegates of Kingdom of Cambodia have opened themselves to all points of information. Due to time constraints, we will only entertain 2 points of information. Are there any such points of information in the
France
House
would
at
like
this
to
time?
rise to a point of information.
Delegate from France, you've been recognized.
How does Cambodia think they can help Vietnam in the elections? Because the point of conducting elections has been given by plenty already. How will Cambodia arrange the funds? Cambodia is saying that they will hold free and fair elections in Vietnam, but actually they haven't even held free and fair elections in their own country. They are a constitutional monarchy.
Honorable Chair, may I go ahead with the answer?
Yes, Delegate.
Thank you, Delegate, for the question. Kingdom of Cambodia knows what it is to be under an external rule. Kingdom of Cambodia is also aware of the threat that the area faces because of France. We will not be helping them directly with the matter of economy. However, as a nation that looks forward to the holistic development of the whole world, we would surely help them in facilitating the models that can help Vietnam to grow and become an independent in the truest sense. We believe Vietnam to be self-sufficient country. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any further points on the floor?
Delegate of South Korea, want to rise to your point of information?
Delegate from South Korea, you've been recognized.
Cambodian delegate one stated that Ho Chi Minh doesn't want elections. Why?
Honorable Chair, may I go ahead with the answer?
Go ahead, Delegate.
Thank you, delegates of South Korea, for your question. We do not believe that we have mentioned about the cancellation of elections themselves, but I surely do believe that we support elections in Vietnam, and also we remain neutral and do not refer to any use of any form of armed forces. We stand in the same place as South Korea does. Thank you.
Sorry, I was logged out. Delegate from Australia, you've been recognized.
Delegate of Australia rise to the point of information as we know that Cambodia is officially a neutral country in the Vietnam conflict and was also a part of Indochina colonies. Would Cambodia ever decide to choose between the communist and the capitalist or remain neutral throughout? What is your country opinion in this?
Honorable Chair, may I continue with my answer?
Please go ahead, Delegate.
Thank you, delegation of Australia, for your question. I would like to state that we would like to be neutral as long as possible. We would not try to support either capitalist or the communist. We would just be in the support of the colonies which were left in shatters due to colonization by France. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. The time for question answer has now elapsed. We will move on to resolution number 3. Will the main submitter of resolution number 3 please take the floor to read the operative clauses?
Thank you, Chair. The main submitter of Resolution 3 is the French Republic. It is co-sponsored by the Commonwealth of Australia, United States of America, and the Republic of Korea. Nothing with deep concern the 28.9 million people in Vietnam who are in dire need of assistance and protection, alarmed by 600,000 and 1 million people who have already been displaced, convinced that a strong government is needed to help facilitate funding, and initiatives in the area, acknowledging the appreciation for the efforts of the existing local peacekeeping forces, having adopted the development of the United Nations Preventive Development Force in Macedonia in 1949. Emphasizing the need of international cooperation on this issue, the AUSKFA bloc hereby
endorses providing military training to native soldiers to help them become more skilled and equipped to counter raids and attacks. Urges the world community to support election in Vietnam for the type of government the native population wants. Calls for organizing an international conference where a plan can be evolved to discuss how awareness can be created for fair and democratic elections in Vietnam, where all countries involved in the Vietnam War can decide on the pattern of election, the date of election, request the formation of an election committee by the United Nations to ensure free and fair elections are conducted in Vietnam, in which every vote will have equal weightage. Further recommends to set the time limit of 5 years for conducting these elections, which essentially means targeting 1961 as the year of election in Vietnam, supervised by the United Nations.
Delegate from French Republic, do you have a supporting speech?
Yes, Chair.
Please go ahead.
Bonjour. Bonjour, Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates. The French delegation is pleased to get a chance to present our views and possibly solve the Vietnam War issue. The Vietnam War is a red page in our world's history. France suggests and urges the world community to support elections in Vietnam for the type of government the people want, because ultimately it is and always will be the choice of the people of Vietnam and not the orders of any external power. France is also ready to support the development of Vietnam under a recovery program and is eager to help Vietnam in building their economy. We ask to create stable conditions in the region so that the democratic institutions can survive and thrive. The protocol of prohibition of the use in war of asphyxiating, poisonous, or other gases, and of all the bacteriological methods of warfare, usually known as the Geneva Protocol of 1925, is a treaty prohibiting the use of chemical and biological weapons in the international armed conflicts. But still, a joint venture of the CDECE and CIA found illegal groups supporting North Vietnamese military holdings, illegal Soviet and Chinese weapons. Hear me out carefully, Chair and the delegates. Illegal Chinese and Soviet weapons, including the grenades, gas cylinders. The supply of all these materials need to be stopped to Vietnam. That's all France wants to highlight today. Je vous remercie. We now would like to yield the floor back to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate from Commonwealth of Australia.
Thank you, Chair, honorable members, and dear delegates. Australia is grateful for the chance to be a part of this session and the chance to find suitable solution for Vietnam conflict. War is neither glamorous nor attractive. It is monstrous. Its nature is one of the tragedy and suffering. Australia's involvement in the Vietnam War is driven largely by the rise of communism in Southeast Asia after the World War II and the fear of its spread, which has developed in Australia during the 1950s. We believe that the best chance to avoid the Vietnam War came in 1945, but we also are of the opinion that the Cold War has hung over the decision made in Indochina and has made the situation worse. There were many points that decision maker could have changed and avoid escalating the conflict, but it didn't happen. As a result, we are facing a dangerous situation in the area. Australia is not in a favor of violence. At the same time, Australia is also not supportive of communist rule in the area. Together with our like-minded friends here, Australia proposes a democratic solution to the situation as outlined in our draft resolution. Thank you. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate from United States of America.
Thank you, Chair, for your recognition. Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, the US involvement in South Vietnam has stemmed from a combination of factors. Allow me to list them for you. Firstly, Joseph Stalin and Mao Zedong's pledge in 1950 to support Ho Chi Minh and the Viet Minh's guerrilla forces
Delegate from USA.
against
I
the
am
colonial
unable to hear
occupation by
you.
France. Secondly, we have China after the US war with Japan. Thirdly, indecisive conclusions of the Korean War fought between North Korea and South Korea from 1950 to 1953. We also want to add that the Geneva Conference held in 1954 was intended to settle down the issues resulting the First Indochina War and the Korean War. The agreement temporarily separated Vietnam into two zones. In the final declaration issued by the British chairman, it also provided that a general election to be held by July 1956 to create a unified Vietnamese state. However, in 1956, the state of Vietnam under Ngo Dinh Diem refused to conduct the elections, leading to the Vietnam War. We are committed to ending the Vietnam conflict peacefully, and to show our devotion to the cause, the United States of America strategically proposes the decision taken by the Geneva Conference to be revised and the countries to be unified under the state of Vietnam, under a single new leadership, through a fair and mutual electoral process. Through this resolution, the United States of America proposes that Vietnam will not be under the influence of the Soviet Union and its other communist allies. The United States of America, together with the like-minded friends like Australia, proposes the year 1961 as the year for the revised election. Thank you. I yield the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate from Republic of Korea. Delegate from the Republic of Korea, you've been recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Chair and distinguished delegates, delegation of South Korea is honored to be here today. Annyeonghaseyo. South Korea is very eager to find a peaceful solution to the situation in Vietnam. We are anxious about USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republic, and China regions in the area. We are also deeply concerned about the fact that elections were cancelled in Vietnam in July 1956. We do not want Vietnam to come under communist influence. We have joined hands with Australia, France, and USA to find a peaceful solution to the conflict. We believe that democratic elections are the only way to achieve lasting peace and unity in Vietnam. We strongly recommend free and fair elections in the area, monitored by the international community. Awareness among local population must be created as well. This is all South Korea has to say today. Thank you. I yield the floor to the chair.
Thank you, Delegate. We will now proceed with the question answer session. Are the delegates from the French Republic open to any points of information?
Yes, Chair.
The delegates of French Republic have opened themselves to all points of information. Kingdom of Cambodia, you've been recognized.
US.
The real motive of
Yes, are recognized.
The real motive of French colonization was profit and economic exploitation. In general, French colonization was more haphazard and brutal than British colonization. It's a fact that under French colonial rule, there were no national identity or authority in Vietnam or its neighbors. According to one French colonial edict, it was even illegal to use the name Vietnam. We are deeply concerned about French Republic's intention. Would the French Republic like to say something about this to the international community?
Thank you for the question, the delegation from Cambodia. If you would look at the recent history if you will look at recent French history, you will find that France is leaving its past history. The bad deeds we have done in the past, I accept it. We have done a lot of bad deeds, but we are leaving that. We want to start a new relationship with Vietnam in which French and Vietnamese people are equal. We want to be, at last, I would like to say that our intentions as Vietnam are good and we want to improve the conditions of living in Vietnam.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate from USSR.
The delegation of USSR rises to the point of information. The delegates of the Soviet Union question the credibility of the arguments proposed by the French delegation. The delegation proposes to appoint Sir Ho Chi Minh as the leader under a unified Vietnam, but at the same instance pairs up with Democrats. Clearly, France is unsure of its own stand in the situation. The delegate of USSR would like to encourage the French delegation to further elaborate how they came to such a muddled proposition.
Thank you, delegation from USSR. I would like to say that we are saying that first, there should be an election of the Vietnamese people for the type of government they want. I'm sure nobody in this conference should have a problem with it for the election for the government they want. After choosing the government the people want, after that, the people can choose the representative they want their country to represent, like Ho Chi Minh, Nguyen Dinh Diem, anyone they want. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. The time for question answer has elapsed. We will now move on to our next delegation. Delegation from Commonwealth of Australia, are you open to point of information?
Yes, Chair.
The delegates of Australia have opened themselves to all points of information. Due to time constraints, we will entertain maximum 2 points of information. Are there any such points of information in the House at this time?
The delegation of
USSR,
USSR would like to
you
raise
have been recognized. Please go on.
USSR. As mentioned in the position paper of Australia, the delegate of Australia clearly calls for free and fair elections. But my question is that since they propose means of free and fair elections, what is the after 5 years, which is essentially means that 1961 has to be essentially targeted. However, in clear hindsight, it does not acquaint any kind of call to action. What are the possibilities that the Vietnam would not flame into the into warfare, and there would be no war until then?
Could you please rephrase your question?
My question is that in the position paper of Australia, the delegation clearly phrases about lost chances and past mistakes. While the delegate cribs such instances, Vietnam fumes with war possibilities. They assure that another conference has to be held in next 5 years, ignoring the current fragile situation of Vietnamese states. How does Australian delegation propose to work for the reference in the current situation and call for action?
As you know, Australia, France, United States, South Korea are forming a bloc to form a free and fair election for the people of Vietnam. As we know that South and North Vietnam, according to our records, many of North Vietnamese people have moved to South Vietnam during the year of 1956, as it was known as the golden year for them. And according to the reports, in South Vietnam, people and North Vietnam want a free and fair election. So why people are always looking for their, like countries like China, USSR are just looking for the communist allies? Why they are not looking for the people choice? Like people, the countries like us, Australia, we are looking around the people for their choice, and we want that people need a free and fair elections so they can live a better life ahead.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any further points on the floor? All right, we will move on. Delegates from USA, are you open to any points of information?
Yes, Chair.
The delegates of USA have opened themselves to all points of information. Kingdom of Cambodia and USSR, you've been recognized. Please go ahead.
Delegation rise to a point of information.
China, you've been recognized.
Do the delegates of United States of America not agree that USA was quite unhappy when China and the Soviets signed the Sino-Soviet Treaty of Friendship? The delegation of Cambodia fears that USA might be supporting Vietnam just for the sake of territorial advantage in war, which is also supported by the sheer number of American troops in Vietnam at this point. Can USA clear up? Can USA clearly explain this situation and the claims which clearly do not align?
May I please ask the delegate from Kingdom of Cambodia to rephrase the question?
Kingdom of Cambodia.
I want to ask the delegation of United States of America that at this current moment there are a sheer number of American troops in Vietnam, and I fear that Vietnam will be used as a battlefield by America, as they were very unhappy when China and Soviet Union signed the Treaty of Friendship. Will you clear these conflicting thoughts?
We can assure that the soldiers in Vietnam will not be used for battlefield. They are only for the safety for the people of South Vietnam. Yes, we were unhappy when Soviet Union and China came together. So we can ensure that there will be no any battlefield or battle between the countries involved in the war.
Thank you, delegate. USSR, you've been recognized.
The delegates of USSR rise to the point of information. The delegate of the Soviet Union is astonished at the proposals of the US delegation. We question the plausibility of the nation's resolution, as we all know that a major supporter of the current upheavals in the South Vietnamese state appears to be the US itself, inducing the strait of a proxy war. How do they strategically propose? We further ask the US delegation to demonstrate their credibility in the current situation.
Can you please rephrase the question?
The Soviet Union questions the credibility of the US proposals due to their current and paramount initiation into a proxy war of the Vietnamese states, which we fear has a potential of being a massive head-on between global powers, hence today's conference. We encourage the US delegation to clarify their stand in the situation.
Thank you for your question, the delegation of USSR. But the delegation of United States refuses to answer to the point of information and yield the floor to the chair.
All right, delegate from USA, delegate from China. Do you have any further points on the floor?
Yes, Chair. The delegates from People's Republic of China rise to a point of information. United States of America was initially against providing any aid to French Republic. However, they have now suddenly decided to stand by the French Republic. We are curious to know why and how such a dramatic change has taken place. Isn't their own alliance very unstable and on shaky grounds?
Thank you for the question, People's Republic of China. We would like to say that French Republic and the United States of America are a very powerful countries now, and we would like to tell that we have supported them because the French Republic and the views of United States of America match, and we are not unstable. We are one of the biggest powers in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. The time has elapsed. We will now move on to the Republic of Korea. Are the delegates from Republic of Korea open to any points of information?
Yes, Chair.
The delegates of Republic of Korea have opened themselves to all points of information. Kingdom of Cambodia, you've been recognized. USSR, you've been recognized.
The delegation from Kingdom of Cambodia rise to a point of information. The delegation of South Korea stated in their speech that they wanted to be neutral and avoid any situation of war. But keeping the political instability of the world in mind right now, I would like to ask South Korea, what if they are caught in the crossfire? Which nation are they willing to support?
Thank you, delegate, for your question. First of all, we didn't state it directly this point. Secondly, if something happened like this, we will totally support the democratic countries.
Thank you, delegate. Delegate from USSR.
The delegates of USSR rise to the point of information. Um, the delegates from South Korea said that in the future there should be solutions drafted, but why are they so unresponsive to the current situation in Vietnam? They're stressing more on preventions and measures, but there is no call for action, and you're blaming communism instead. Can you please clear your stand in the situation?
Delegate of USSR, can you repeat your question? You feel it?
The delegate of USSR stresses that South Korea says that in the future there should be solutions made for Vietnam conflict, but there is no call for present action. How are you so unresponsive to the situation in present Vietnam? We are here to look at the present situation, and this conference takes place now. Why are you stressing for future solutions?
Because we have seen in first hand that war faced major disasters. So we want to save world from the future wars. That's why. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Are there any further points on the floor? Are there any further points on the floor for any other country? All right, let's move ahead. So the time allocated for debate on the draft resolutions as a whole has elapsed. We will now be moving directly into voting procedure. Admin staff, please be ready to assist in the counting of votes. May I also remind the delegates that clapping is not in order. Is the admin staff ready?
Yes, Chair.
All right, we'll now move directly into the voting procedure. All delegates voting for resolution number 1, please raise your placards high. Thank you. Can we move on? Admin?
Yes, Chair.
All delegates voting for resolution number 2, please raise your placards high. Admin, can we move on?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. All delegates voting for resolution number 3, please raise your placards high. Thank you, delegates.
Chair, we have 1 vote in favor of resolution 1. We have 5 votes in favor of resolution 2. And we have 1 vote in favor of resolution 3. Resolution 1 failed. Resolution 2 passed. Resolution 3 failed.
Thank you. Thank you, admin staff, and thank you, delegates. I want to thank each and every delegate here for generously sharing their time and expertise and for their commitment to the cause. The session is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone. We've come to the end of the session. Purnima ma'am, over to you. May I please request our honorable judges to please share your the judgment rubric with me so that together with the admin staff we can tabulate the final result. Purnima ma'am, over to you.
Sorry to interrupt, Aparna.
Yes, ma'am.
Aparna, I would take some time in preparing the judgment sheet from my end, because there are a couple of things I needed to discuss with you. So could we do that in the break time?
Yes, ma'am, we could do that and we could announce the results together then at the end of the
Yeah.
second session. Okay, okay, ma'am. We could do
Has
that.
Nalini ma'am something to say, Nalini ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. I think in next session it's better if we're announcing result, because still we have to do compiling and all that is done.
Right,
Needs to be
Yes,
done.
ma'am.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And Miss Singh, are you
Miss
okay with that?
Varia, what is your input in this?
Yes, I would take some time
Right,
to
right,
elaborate all the inputs and put it together.
right.
So,
And Aparna,
judges, I'll
there
be in
was
touch
one
with
more
you
thing.
and we can. Yes, sorry,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yeah, okay, okay.
All right, thank you. Purnima ma'am, over to you. Are you there? All right, I think we've lost Purnima ma'am. So may I take over instead and may I please request our wonderful judges. Yes, ma'am, please over to you, ma'am.
Yes, yes, we have come to the end of the session. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, judges, and most importantly, thank you, delegates. It has been a very stimulating session indeed. Congratulations to all the delegates for their brilliant performance today. Now, while we compile the scores and derive at the results, may I request respected Miss Varia Singh to address the gathering, please?
Sure. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to congratulate Dikshant International School for conducting their first Model United Nations so seamlessly. I would like to celebrate and congratulate all the delegates for showcasing their leadership, research, and public speaking skills so wonderfully. As a delegate, each of you presented the argument keeping in mind the intricacies of the issue at hand. Kudos to all of you. What I would like all of the delegates to dwell upon is to focus on learning and improving. MUN is a powerful platform to learn more about the issues around the world. I encourage you all to actively take part in the future and not be afraid to express your views. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a pleasure to hear you speak. May I now request Honorable Miss Nalini Sharma, ma'am, to address the delegates and the audience.
It was really nice hearing everyone. And there are few, because let me compile result, then I'm going to take name of few participants, delegates. They spoke really very well. As it was first time, I've come to know like first time they are conducting. It's really very well. In fact, I should appreciate the way they were presenting and all. Few boys they were speaking very well, because see, you have to be confirmed, you have to be firm about your point. Whatever you are speaking, you have to be firm about it. Yes, whatever. And so there are few boys they were doing very well, and few of them we have to train them. Otherwise, overall performance was really brilliant. I must say it was excellent, and I'm really impressed with the way the kids they were participating and speaking and presenting their views. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It was an honor to hear you speak. May I now request Ms. Shweta Podar to address the gathering?
Thank you, Purnima. Thank you for the opportunity. And what do I say? I am overwhelmed. So to see so many of them here, and some of them I had never heard them speak. So I must say, Miss Varia and Nalini ma'am, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to hear all of them. The kind of research they've done and the way they've taken up their arguments, they've taken up the questions given to them. I feel, see, there is no stopping back. There's a lot to learn, but a lot has been learned as well. So I congratulate the entire MUN team, the teachers who've been involved, working hard day and night with the children. I could see Miss Wari and Miss Nalini, just to inform you, that I could see their sessions happening, you know, late at night, early in the morning. It's so cold out there, and I could see things happening. So that is what is actually for me a kind of, I must say, an achievement. Children working hard, children so focused in the entire event, though it's the first time for them, but I see a lot of hard work has been put in, a lot of effort has been made by the children. So, of course, the best delegate would take away the prizes, but then I think for me, all of them are a winner because all of them have actually worked hard and tried to be their best selves. So yes, once the results are announced, we'll have Ms. Varia and Ms. Nalini telling us more about how they could improve themselves and where they have gone wrong. But I think it's a 10 on 10 for me as of now. And it was wonderful to hear some children like Mudrika, Hanshika, and a few more speaking whom I had never ever heard speaking. So I think that's an achievement. So all the best to all the delegates. May the best ones win. And of course, as Nalini ma'am said, in future, we need to, you know, this is just a stepping stone. And even Varia said the same thing. I echo what they have said, that this is just the beginning, a long way to go. And with every MUN that you participate, I'm sure you will become better and enhance your skills. So the first time had to be there. And thank you, Aparna and Purnima, to at least begin with it. And I'm sure in the coming years, we'll be like professionals.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you, all of you children, and keep your fingers crossed. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was delightful to hear you speak. Now, Aparna ma'am, result declaration would happen now.
No, ma'am, the result declaration would happen after the next session. The judges and everyone has agreed that we'll keep them in surprise.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Then Smriti ma'am is not here, so
No.
let me go ahead with the vote of thanks. Yes, ma'am. Okay. May I invite? Yes.
Sorry, I was logged out again. I'm very sorry about that. But ma'am, the results, everyone delegates, the results will be declared after the next session. So you will have to remain in the state of surprise and anxiety for the next 2-3 hours at least, right? But as all the judges said, even I want to echo their sentiments that you all are already winners. Ma'am, may I just add a little, a few things especially for the judges. Our children have actually gone beyond the call of duty to prepare for this. They have been, without even my supervision, without Purnima ma'am's supervision, they've been conducting their own practice sessions. They used to send us screenshots, and not just within the teams, they even helped each other. So they did not, it was a very healthy competition. They did not stop at just their delegation. They went beyond that, and they've been doing it for the last 3 weeks. I've seen them day and night, and some of them have been multitasking, practicing for the debate, attending various workshops, preparing the winter projects, and still working at it. And I also want to specially mention Arth here, because Arth stepped in at the 11th hour, and he was not a part of the original delegation for Cambodia. He's prepared everything in just a week's time. At the same time, he was also preparing for another inter-school debate. So I want to commend each one of you. You know, you've been very supportive. We teachers are nothing without your support and without your cooperation. And I'm so, my heart right now, I'm overwhelmed because you all supported us. So thank you, delegates. Thank you, students. You all are precious. You know that. And yes, we will learn more, we'll grow more, and we'll do it together. Right, so thank you. And of course, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Smriti ma'am. Thank you, Shweta ma'am. Thank you, Purnima ma'am. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, judges. Everyone who's here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now coming to the end of the session, may I invite our academic coordinator, Ms. Anju Sharma, to deliver the vote of thanks, please.
Ma'am, Purnima ma'am, just one sec. Before that, can we please request Smriti ma'am to address us once again? I would love to hear her feedback.
I'm so sorry, Aparna. I think ma'am is not available.
Ma'am is not here.
She's not available. So she had sent her wishes to all the delegates, and she whatever she was able to attend, she thoroughly enjoyed it, and she was also all the more delighted to see her children speaking and working hard and researching, and then on this platform putting in their best. So ma'am has sent her best wishes to all the delegates, and I think the next session ma'am would be able to join us back. So let's hope for that.
Right, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And ma'am, before I forget, I want to thank Vrinda. She's a student from class 9 and she's been there throughout with the teachers supporting us. Everything that went in smoothly in terms of voting, in terms of declaration, timing. She's the one who's been timing each and every speech. She's the one who's been giving a feedback also as a very neutral observer. She's been helping her fellow students in terms of, feedback, and she's been part of both the sessions. So she's been telling each, that how they are performing and how this committee can do better, or so she's been invaluable support too. So thank you, Vrinda. Thank you for being there for us. Purnima ma'am, over to you.
Yes, ma'am. Now may I request Anju Sharma ma'am to take over with the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Purnima ma'am. Thank you so much. Honorable jury members, Ms. Varya Singh, Ms. Nalini Sharma, and Ms. Shweta Padar, respected director ma'am, Ms. Smriti Tikku, our most valued invited parents and students. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this very first occasion of Dikshant International School's Model United Nations. I thank you, respected judges, for your precious time that you all have devoted towards this event and gave an ear to all our delegates. I'm highly thankful to our Honorable Director, Ms. Smriti Tikku, for her great vision for the students and the organization to soar high and higher. On behalf of Dikshant International School, extend my heartfelt vote of thanks to all the speakers for gracing their important work and sharing with us their findings and opinions today. That was really wonderful. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for Miss Aparna Bhatt for her whole soul involvement in the initiation of the MUN, not only for the first time in Dikshant, but also in Haldwani as the city. So, dear students and dear all, the journey has just begun and miles to go. Further, we are really grateful to Ms. Purnima Hegde and Ms. Garima Pandey for their valuable support in various practice sessions and lending all the possible help to all our dear delegates and for providing encouragement at all levels. Without your help, dear Purnima ma'am and Garima ma'am, it won't have been possible. Thank you for being there. I also wish to express my gratitude to the MUN admins, our leading students cum critics, Vridna Singh and Shivi Pelekwal. I may like to express our sincere thanks to Ms. Prableen Saluja for coordinating our entire event. And of course, our technical team involving Ms. Khushi Negi, Ms. Ruchi Gupta, and Ms. Ritika Shah for giving an excellent coverage to the entire event. Well, ladies and gentlemen, an event like this cannot happen overnight. My vote of thanks would remain incomplete if I won't thank the encouraging parents without whose support this wouldn't have been made possible as a successful event. Last but not the least, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to all the delegates whose participation actually served the purpose of the event, whose hard work is reflected enormously in their speeches. And dear students, dear delegates, not only you learned throughout the session, we also learned from all of you. So a very warm thank you to one and all present here. Thank you, everyone.